Hello and welcome to History and Mysteries Uncovered. This is going to be a 4-part series where we're going to be looking into the most haunted parts of England, starting with the infamous Tower of London. This fortress, palace and prison is somewhere where I wanted to go for such a long time, but because of the current situation of the world, I still cannot visit it sadly. But let's get into the crazy history behind this tower that brings 3 million visitors a year. The tower was built by William the Conqueror in 1070 and took 20 years to build, using masons from Normandy. They built stones from France. They did also hire local Englishmen to help build it. It was built to defend and proclaim William the Conqueror's power. He wanted it to be impenetrable to his enemies. The fortress was nothing like Britain has ever seen before. Throughout the years, the fortress was expanded by Henry III. He painted the tower white, and years later expanded by Edward I, adding walls, smaller towers, and even enlarging the moat. The tower was impenetrable. Kings and queens kept their possessions safe within the medieval walls, even storing and testing their weapons and armour up to the 1800s. The tower held the nation's money, and in 1381, the tower's defences failed. During the peasant revolt, rebels ran into the open gate. Moving on to the tragedies that happened inside the tower. Henry VI was murdered in 1471 while he was at prayer inside the king's private chapel within the Wakefield Tower. Later, the princes of Edward IV vanished without a trace in 1483. Later in 1674, 2 skeletons were discovered within the tower. And in 1933, the remains were re-examined and discovered that the remains were of 2 boys, estimated age of 12 and 10, the same age as the vanished princes. Henry VIII's second wife, married from 1533 to 1536, Anne Boleyn, was executed at the tower by the sword, accused of adultery and treason. So a lot of death has happened throughout the tower. These are only a few. But the tower did become the most important state prison of the Tudor age. Anyone who was believed to be a threat was imprisoned within the tower. It housed the future Elizabeth I, Lady Jane Grey, and Sir Walter Raleigh, and Guy Fawkes, and even during the war, German spies. They were shot and imprisoned. The chapel is a burial place for the most famous prisoners, such as the Queens of England, Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, and Jane Grey. The saddest thing about the Queen's executions was they were quickly buried without care under the chapel, without even a memorial. But in 1876, the remains were unearthed and reburied beneath the marble pavement, and a plaque is carved into the stone to remember them. So moving on to the hauntings that have and still haunt the tower. Anne Boleyn is believed to haunt the site of her execution, located on the tower's green. Arbella Stuart, who was the cousin of Elizabeth I, who was held in the tower for marrying without royal permission. She haunts the Queen's house, and even to this day she is still seen. The Princess of the Tower, and a bear that frightens visitors to death when seen, which I would be if I saw the ghost of a bear around a tower in England. The royals did import exotic animals. There are also the legends of the ravens, which goes, if ravens leave the tower, both it and the kingdom will fall. To this day, 7 ravens are kept within the tower. So I'm leaving this video here. What crazy events happened within the tower? It's been through a lot over the past 1,000 years. Royalty has used and abused the tower, and the scars show within the tragic events that happened. I love to visit the tower and plan to in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the most haunted places throughout England.